Hi, welcome to the show. I am your host, Bryan Lee Whatley. Our story begins tonight with our very special guest, etiquette expert and life coach Marie Dubuque. Marie examines rudeness in the digital age. Like, what do you say if you've just embarrassed yourself at a cocktail party? And how do you react if someone invades your personal space? What to say to relatives who try to put you down? From one blunder to another, Marie deals with every aspect of living amongst our loud, obnoxious people who are glued to their cell phones all day long. Yes, Marie talks about surviving and thriving in a society where rudeness, well, has become a way of life. And she firmly believes that you can be polite and kind and still get ahead in this world. Our musical guest tonight is Joe Galaxy with his song Crazy Sexy. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome, Marie. How are you doing today?
Hi, Brian. I'm doing great. I was so excited to be on your show. Thank you so much for having me. Had a lot of fun. I listen to all your shows.
Oh, thank you. I'm super excited to have you on our show today because the stuff that you talk about, you've got a massive fan base following on your YouTube videos and all your books and everything that we'll get to shortly. But you hit on so many topics that so many people need to know about, and they need some advice. And so I've got a list of questions here to talk to you about, and maybe we can get through some of them.
Oh, that sounds great. I know, it's craziness, because when people think about etiquette, they think of knives and forks. But really, it's about rudeness, and it's about, and it's so complicated because we're talking about face-to-face, and we're talking about internet rudeness, and people don't know how to act.
Yes, exactly. So, a little bit more, can you tell us a little bit about more about yourself for our listeners out there? So that if they don't know what an etiquette expert is or a life coach is.
Well, I started out as a life coach, and I sort of moved into etiquette because I wanted to talk about how do people deal with social situations. Since I was getting so many questions about that, and people just, they are at a loss, especially these younger kids. When I say young kids, I mean like late teens, early 20s. In fact, employers tell me that when they have really young people coming in for a job interview, these kids don't know how to act. They don't know how to deal with conversation, with eye contact, because they're so used to being on the net and just typing and texting that they don't know how to communicate face-to-face, and it's really sad.
I completely agree. I used to be a hiring manager for one of my companies I used to work for, and it always got to me as well because people would come in and their personal, it wasn't necessarily their personal appearance, but just their personal mannerisms just really shocked me during the interview. And unfortunately, it cost a couple of people jobs because there was a couple of other people who acted better during the interview, and they had, up till that part, they were naturally equal in skill sets, but it's like, wow, this person really knows how to interact a little bit better than somebody else. And whenever I go out on interviews, I always think about the same thing, how do I need to act on this? And so I'm afraid that because of the digital age, and I'm a software engineer, computer scientist by degree, and so I'm guilty of being part of the whole Netiquette information technology issues and everything else. But it's so very important to me that people understand that you can't always just be trapped up in some room behind a keyboard and expect to maintain your skill sets in a social environment. It's very, very difficult.
Exactly, right. Yeah, I mean, you think of computer people, really techies, as not very social. And my husband's a techie too, and he's more social than I am. And you are, and you're really social. You're on the radio, so it's not to say you can't sit there and categorize people. Oh, that person isn't going to be very good at face-to-face communication. That's not it. Anybody can do it. It just takes practice, and it takes wanting to do it. Some of these kids, and I'm not just saying kids, I'm not picking on the Generation X, Y, whatever. It's like you have to make an effort, don't you think, to want to communicate to people?
Yes, definitely. I'm actually part of Toastmasters.org, and it's a public speaking group. It's an international group, but it talks about how to handle yourself and present yourself out. And so, like you said, being a techie, being a geek, a lot of us are introverts. And if you want to get ahead in life, or if you just want to sometimes just not be chained to the desk and do a little bit more, then sometimes your bosses or your friends may need you to be able to cope a little bit more outside of the office, or even doing presentations and stuff like that. So I used to have my engineers actually become part of Toastmasters themselves, just so they develop that skill set or they improve upon that skill set for them to be able to give a massive presentation in front of a CEO or be able to at a business party, with a Fortune 500 company where they have their vice presidents over, just to be able to handle conversation with them. It's so very, very important.
Good for you. That is great because you hear my husband's an engineer, so I can say this. But you think of engineers as just behind their computer and working on their little designs, and then not being able to be in front of people. And that's so not the truth because my husband's giving presentations all the time. You're on the radio, you give presentations, so that's great. You're making these engineers join Toastmasters, get out there, get out of their comfort zone, and really just become a public speaker. And I bet you they were really, really happy and grateful to you for making them do that. They weren't probably at first, but they were after they did it, right? Am I right?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And I have to admit, I gave some of them raises because of that. Because there was a couple of times when the president of the company would come down from corporate, and he had actually made a comment. He said, these people, and he named out a list of people, and he said these people gave outstanding presentations. It was last-minute presentations we had to give. He said these people were amazing. And sure enough, they were all members of Toastmasters. And so it made our division down here, shine against corporate because we were able to handle that last minute pressure and not let them see us sweat while we were doing it. So it was pretty good. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. And that's what these kids need to do. And you see these kids in restaurants with their headphones on, and they're on dates, and they sit there and text. I mean, this is just out of control.
It's a whole new media now for instead of, do you like me? I like you, circle yes or no. Now it's like, text me back, yes or no.
Right. I don't think they know how to date. They really don't.
Oh my goodness. We're talking about email etiquette and the whole office environment. That's one thing that's a pet peeve of mine. The whole capital letters for shouting, and it's not necessarily, you see this a lot on Facebook and Twitter and everything else, but there's like some type of etiquette out there, Netiquette or whatever the term is, that says, if you use all caps, you're shouting at somebody. If you use exclamation points, you're showing anger. And it bothers me because sometimes people don't understand the written word anymore. And they forget all about the English language and the usage of it, but it's this whole new generation that's coming out. And sometimes I've taken it personal whenever somebody emails me or texts me in a different type of mannerism than what I'm expecting. I'm like, well, they didn't give me a smiley face. I don't know if they're mad at me or not.
Right, or the all caps. I know it's a little bit abrasive. It really is. People don't understand that. And then the whole the abbreviations drive me crazy because then if you type like that on a text, you're going to speak like that.
That is so true. I actually said one time, I was talking to somebody and they said something funny. I said, LOL. And I stopped and I was like, I did not just do that, did I?
It took me the longest time to figure out what that meant.
So what do you think?
OMG or any of those things. I know when people are saying that and they don't, I mean, you need to, and I've noticed that people's grammar is getting worse, and that's a lot of it. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
It really is. I hate to sound like, this, like I'm ancient, but I don't like to see the English language just be, butchered like it is.
All right. So how do you think people can get better on just email etiquette or Netiquette as it is?
Well, what I think is, and I don't want to sit here and blame technology because I think technology is great.
Right.
We can talk to so many different people and communicate with more people than ever before. But what I think it is about being selfish. It's not technology to blame, it's being selfish. So you've got to focus on the person you're talking to. And always, always consider the person you're with and make sure that that person is number one. Your texts, your emails, your Facebook messages, they all come second to the person that you are with. And so if you prioritize like that, and you don't try to multitask with feelings is what I say, because you're trying to you're trying to, text and process on at the same time as an email, everyone's going to lose out. So always talk to the person you're with first, after that email, and don't ever do it all at once.
Have you ever seen that commercial where the guy and the girl's out on a date and they're at dinner or something like that, and he's got the phone in his lap and he's like watching the game, and she
Yes,
says, "Are
yes,
you watching the game?"
yes,
He's like,
and
"What am I,
it's
some
really
summoner?"
funny. And she says something to him, and he's like, "Whoa!" Right, and looking at the game. I know. I thought that it's funny, but it's not. Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, that is just. What is that? What kind of a message is that sending?
I'm not
really,
quite sure.
Like it's okay, like it's really funny to be sitting there watching the game when you're with your significant other for whatever it is, her anniversary or birthday or just a night out.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
I think I see so many people a lot of times doing what's called a BlackBerry prayer, and it's where they're kind of looking down at it in their hands or something. And I think you mentioned earlier in terms of not looking at you face to face, and whenever I'm talking to somebody, it's a little difficult over the radio, but normally when I talk to somebody, I love to look at them eye contact wise, to look at them face to face or something like that. And when they're sitting there texting something, I get offended whenever they're not looking back at me. And you said earlier, make sure it's a one-on-one conversation, not a one-on-many. Don't be in a group chat where you're trying to hold a person-to-person conversation.
I love that when you said the BlackBerry prayer. I'm gonna. That is such a good one. I mean, I get a lot of comments on my YouTube channel, and this one young woman, she wrote in saying that she was having lunch with her mother, but her mother was on the phone the entire time. And I told her, listen, you have to tell your mother, my time is as valuable as yours, and if you want to talk on the phone, that's fine. But if you want to meet with me face to face, you have to put that phone down. And it's sad that you have to tell your own mother that. But you have to, because they don't get it. They're not thinking and they're not caring. And you have to tell them. And you could say, well, that's rude. But if you don't, just lay it down on the line and say, look, you're hurting my feelings. Turn off your phone. Then they're going to keep doing it over and over again. Yeah.
And I have to admit, I use my iPhone as a phone/babysitter sometimes. I've got little kids, a 2 and a 6, and sometimes I'll hand them the phone in order for them to play a game or watch Netflix or something like that to keep them a little occupied while I'm shopping or something. But it gets to a point to whenever I'm trying to hold a conversation with them and they're still looking down at it, and I literally have to take the phone away from them. I'm like, I'm talking to you, look at me. And so I don't want to keep giving birth or more power to the whole BlackBerry prayer to where they're not holding eye-to-eye contact. And so when I literally take the phone away from my son, he's like, why don't you do that? I'm like, because I'm talking to you. I want you to look at me. I want you to pay attention. You need to be able to take a break at that moment and talk to me. And then, once we're done with our conversation, whatever I need or whatever you need, then we go back to playing the games. But in the meantime, I need you to put that away for a second. And he gets so upset, but it's okay. He will get over it.
Oh, yeah, and that's great, because they're tech savvy, 2 and 6, wow. But same token, they know when that's it, just to take away the phone and it's time to communicate face to face. So they got the best of both worlds, and that's good. You're not just letting them, not talking to them. You're making the effort to talk to them, and you're not going to just sit there and keep them on the phone. Oh, I'm so happy they're occupied. So that's good. You're making, and a lot of parents don't. They just let them, okay, good, I've got free time, and they don't communicate with them. I have a 16-year-old.
Oh my God.
So I have another problem. Yeah, but that brings to mind one time that I, being this etiquette expert, committed a major faux pas. My son is 16, and he was driving for the very first time by himself when he turned 16. And my husband and I, we were out with another couple. And so I was all nervous about him driving. And so the phone rang, and I picked it up. And they all looked at me like, what are you doing? And I apologized profusely. It wasn't him, and I put it down. But that's the thing. I should have said ahead of time, look, my son's driving for the first time. I might have to pick up the phone, in which case I'll leave the room for just a second and come back. And somebody else said to me the same thing. His mother was sick, and he was going into a meeting with coworkers in a conference room kind of a setting. And he told them ahead of time, look, I'm going to put my phone down. My mother's ill. She's in the hospital. I might have to pick it up, and I might have to leave. And so if there is a kind of an emergency or a real emergency or anything where someone is sick or has got something really intense going on, then that's okay. Let them know ahead of time. But in any other circumstance, don't sit there and pick up the phone if you're in a meeting or if you're out to dinner with friends. Because remember, they're the priority. That's what I always say.
Nice. I like that. I'm the priority.
Right.
Okay, so a couple of questions here. In general etiquette, just social environments, things like that, I have. So what would you say to someone who you don't really even like or you don't know, and they ask you to stand up in their wedding?
This happens a lot. I know more than you
It happened
think.
to me. Yep.
Has that happened to you?
Yes.
So what if you, okay, so let me ask you what you did, because it's sort of, it's a quandary, because if you don't like the person that well, you don't know the person that well, it's a time commitment as well as an expense. So was this someone you weren't that close to and didn't really want to do it?
Yeah, I was kind of dragged to the wedding, but they
Oh, no.
they knew that I was with Toastmasters and I do public speaking and things like that, and so they had asked me. They kind of pulled me up to the side. They said, "Hey, Brian, it'd be really great if you could just say a little something about the wedding and everything else." And so I was put on the spot, and I had to quickly kind of think on my feet, but I just used general terms. Because I didn't really know too much about the people who were getting married or about the family, but I talked about love in general. I talked about compassion, and I talked about, lifelong commitments and, being there for each other and everything else. And so while the whole substance of it didn't have anything to do with the two people because I didn't really know them, but I still tried to say something in general of the setting. Was that a good thing to do? Was that right?
A great thing.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because people just they get so worried about, they don't want to hurt people's feelings. And that's nice. All you had to do was give a speech and you were able to give a real general one. But some people, they're asked to be in the wedding, and especially with women, you have to then buy the dress, go to dress fittings, go to the shower, plan the shower sometimes if you're the maid of honor. And what if it's someone maybe you were close to but aren't close to anymore? And this is what I always say to tell people. Just say, look, I don't have the money right now, I don't have the time, and you're such a special person, and you really deserve a great wedding, and you deserve to have somebody who's really committed, and I just can't be that person right now because I just don't have the time. I'm so sorry. So be honest.
So honesty will work then?
Yeah, I think you have to be. Because if you say, well, I'm going to be doing something, then I can't even come to your wedding, it'll come back to haunt you. It really will.
Well, that's good. Okay, I like that. Okay, what about then this unfortunately this has happened to me again as well. This is why I like all these good questions I have. I know, it's horrible. At a cocktail party, at an office cocktail party, and you do something and you embarrass yourself. I accidentally slipped on the dance floor one time, and I just kind of laid there. And,
no, you fell on your back?
Yes, I slipped. Somebody spilled something on the floor, whatever, and I was dancing. I kind of slipped and fell, and then everybody's just sitting there looking at me. And so I just kind of laid there and just started dancing on the floor. And then everybody's like, all right.
People like crowded around you and everything.
Yeah, kind of. I'm glad that they didn't step on me.
Oh, funny. But see, that's the thing. That's what I was just going to say. You handled it perfectly because you didn't get really embarrassed and turn bright red and, oh no, I apologize all over the place. You made it a fun you just turned it into a funny moment, which is really great. And that's what you need to do. Just turn it, laugh at yourself, make fun of yourself, and then change the subject.
Well, I think it happens to a lot of people, and they don't necessarily know how to handle it, and they just want to leave the party. And if you're having a good time, don't let just that one thing just bother the whole party for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because especially work parties, those can be so stressful.
Yes.
Because your boss is there. And this is what I say, don't have more than one drink. And if at all possible, don't drink. And people want to drink because they're so nervous, but then they end up drinking too much, and they really end up embarrassing themselves. That's the last thing you want to do at a company party. So be very, very careful.
Nice. I agree with that. Don't over intoxicate yourself in front of people you're going to have to deal with business in the next day. That can get a little bit out of hand. So
right, and don't talk about personal things because you don't know who you can trust.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, so be very, very careful because people are catty and gossipy, and you know how offices are. So be really careful. Talk about movies and the weather and whatever, but not anything personal.
I know, because it could wind up on YouTube. That night.
Absolutely. Yeah. You'll never live it down.
Never, ever. Okay, what about if someone asks you for your opinion, but they really only want you to be a yes man or yes woman, and if you try to actually be honest, because you mentioned being honest earlier, but if you actually try to be honest, then they don't like that, then what happens?
I just really think you still have to say what you think. You could say, well, I understand your point, and I get that, but here's another side to that. So acknowledge what they're saying, but then add what you're saying. So it's not like you're shooting them down, but say, well, I have a different point of view. And then if they still don't like it, say, well, why did you ask me? You can just kind of say it jokingly, well, if you didn't want to hear what I wanted, my opinion, why did you ask? Kind of joking. Because otherwise, you're just going to turn into the yes man, and you don't want to do that.
Well, it's really bad with engineers. We all think we're God's gift to technology, and we can do no wrong.
I know. Because my husband is, and he is God's gift.
Is he? He tells you that all the time.
So I do bow down to him first. He is like, I just tell me how to, which buttons to press. But I get that.
Well, it's very difficult sometimes whenever we're sitting around in an office environment. Again, I keep relating back to this because I spend so much time in it, or even here in the studio, in the station studio and things. It's a matter of how you handle somebody's idea. And again, people are very prideful. A lot of times I find introverts, engineer introverts are very, very prideful in their work. And if you try to say, oh, well, I don't really like that interface, or I found a bug in your code, which is horrible to say to somebody, and then, or a senior engineer or something like that, then, it gets very uncomfortable. You're like, how do you tell this guy who's been working here for 20 years that, his whole program's broke and it's not going to sell or something else? So
get somebody else to tell him. Yeah.
It'd be like,
so hard. Oh my gosh.
It'll be like,
blood, sweat, and tears is in it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where human resources comes in. No, I don't know. Yeah, that is so hard.
Oh my goodness.
I bet you're great at that. Are you great at that? Being able to tell people, look, this isn't going to cut it, or I can see how you would be.
Sometimes those are the times that I get really stressed out on how I would tell them, and so it's tricky each time because and it gets back into really understanding people and knowing proper etiquettes and even body language and things like that. I think
right, and how you communicate best with those people. Right. Yeah. So like you said, you have to know that person and and how to approach that person without hurting their feelings. So they have to know. I mean, you can't just let it go. Especially if it's, it's work related. And if it's something personal and someone's hurt your feelings, like for instance, I get this question all the time. What do I say to somebody who's blocked me on Facebook? And this happens a lot. People get mad and then they unfriend them, block them, whatever you call it. And this is what I say. Just ignore it. Just pretend it didn't happen. Because they want to get a rise out of you. They want to see you be upset. So if you see this person in person, don't get upset. Don't just act like it never happened. And most of the time they will friend you again because they just got upset. I mean, it's like saying to someone in real life, I don't want to be your friend. But the thing is, we wouldn't say that, but we would think nothing of unfriending somebody.
Oh yeah, keyboard courage.
Yeah, but that's what I tell people too. If you're really mad and you want to hit unfriend or whatever you want to hit on that computer, or you want to send a nasty email, just go out of the room for 5 minutes and come back.
Nice.
Because it's so easy to send a nasty email because you're typing and you're not seeing that person's face.
Yes. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Take 5 minutes.
And I've done it.
Have you blocked somebody?
It was bad. Have you done that? I've done it, and I've regretted it.
I have a tendency sometimes as a techie person, I like just getting straight to the point, and I'm also former military, and so I like just I shoot from the hip and get straight to the point so we can get on to other productive work or whatever else. And sometimes it comes across a little rough and harsh.
Oh, like you're not doing this, because there's no small talk, but see, and some people that works really well with it, but other people you have to do a little small talk, and now you get that, right?
Well, I don't know if I do or not, because sometimes I have to have people, I have to get people to proofread my emails a couple times, and they'll be like, oh no, Brian, that's not good, don't send that out. Or if I'm working with some of the show producers or whoever else, and I'm just like, okay, we need to do this, and this. It's factual. There's nothing wrong about it. I'm not lying about anything in the email. I just get to the point and say, this is what we need to do. And they're like, that is so rude. You don't say things like that. And I'm like, well, I'm just trying to get to the point. I don't mean anything. And so I have to go back and reword it.
But the other engineers probably are fine with that, right?
Yeah. Or military people or something like that. They're like,
right.
Sir, yes, sir, and they go on about their way. Whatever. And so it's always interesting. So that's why.
But that's good that you have people proofreading that. I hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea. Have someone objected, like a second pair of eyes, look at an email. Like if it's an important one, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Or go ask your husband. Say, I'm about to send this to my sister. I'm about to send this to my mother-in-law. Do I need to send this to your mom? Come read this.
Yeah.
See what he said. She's like, no, don't send that to her.
But he's like you. He's straight to the point.
Is he?
There's a certain type. But I like that. I really like that. I really appreciate people being to the point. I don't get offended by it, but I know some people do because they're just like, whoa. Like someone from Europe, I don't remember which country. She said when she came to this country, she was like, oh, she's German. That's what it was. And I think it was Heidi Klum. And that was the hardest thing for her to get used to when she came to this country, that there's all the small talk. And she said, in Germany, we just get right to the point.
Yeah.
And my dad, he's the same way. He's a German immigrant. And
okay.
And people would think he's kind of brusque, too. And he gets right to the point. And they don't spend any time small talking. I kind of like that.
Have you ever seen the TV show? There's two of them that I like. One is Bones, where it's really super smart medical doctor. She always just quotes factual things, and she doesn't really look at the emotional side of it. And the other one is one of my newest favorite shows is The Big Bang Theory. And it's about.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yes.
I was just watching it because on TBS it's like runs 24/7.
Yes.
So yeah, I know it's my new favorite too. I'm watching all the reruns. I love that. And Sheldon, because he takes everything so literally.
Yeah.
Yes, that's too funny.
And he's like, "What? I didn't say anything wrong."
It's like my husband's favorite show now after Seinfeld.
Is it?
Seinfeld, we can't watch that it's hard to find the reruns anymore. But if a Big Bang Theory, it's like the it show right now for reruns. So yeah, I know it's hysterical.
Because all they do is they just get straight to the point about things, and if you really stop and think about it, you're like, well, yeah, he didn't say anything wrong. It's just the way he said it.
Right, and then he'll the little nuances. Sheldon will ask, well, how did I not pick up? What did I miss?
and you know what he does? He goes to his friends, and his friend who lives with him, the roommate, will say, he'll ask his roommate, and his roommate will be like, oh, just don't worry about it, or this is what he did wrong, or something like that. So there again, it goes back to, I guess, maybe what I was saying earlier about have somebody proofread your emails or something.
Exactly,
I don't know.
Exactly, yeah. Of course, and edit in your head too. Edit in your head before you say something. How many times have we said something we wish we could take back?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a big problem with people invading my personal space. Like if I say my circle of death, if you get within my circle of death, which is the outreach of my arms, right? I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but it's like, oh, don't get so close to me. Why is that so bad? And how can people get around that?
I know. That drives me crazy. And I thought, because I'm an only child, but no, it's just everyone I think has that because we have our space and you shouldn't violate it. And then there's the people that get just so close. And what I say is just take a step back and just keep taking a step back and they'll get it. Because that's really all you can do. And they will get it after a while. But boy, and especially with hugs too. Somebody asked me this on YouTube. They said, well, what do I do if I have to hug someone I don't like? And I say, grab your purse as a woman, grab your purse, try to do the one-arm hug. Same thing with a man. If you can't grab your purse, but do like just a really quick one-arm hug. Because doesn't it seem like everyone is hugging instead of shaking hands? It's become this greeting where you hug people you don't even know. I was watching that show, The Bachelor, and The Bachelor was hugging the girls he's dating, he was hugging their parents, and he just met them. I'm like, what on earth? I really don't like that.
Well, okay, I am extremely guilty about that. I'm a hugger person. I'd rather hug than shake hands or bow or whatever else. I was raised in the South, and my mother was like that, and my aunts and other people were, oh no, come here, son, we give hugs. So
you're like a touchy-feely. And
I am a touchy-feely.
Like that. So do you hug people that you've never even met?
Well, what I do is I ask them first, and I will say, if we go shake hands, I'll say, I'm a hugger, do you mind? And if they say no, then I'm like, I'm completely fine with it. And most of them are like, no, yes, because they feel the same way. But I will always ask first.
Good for you. That's good. Yeah, I mean, and I know there's touchy-feely people, and I think they're great, and they're so warm and kind and caring.
We're like a big teddy bear.
But I don't know, because I'm a germphobe. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I'm okay, but you know, people that I really care about, yeah, I'll hug them, and I don't know. It goes both ways, I guess. You have to figure out who you're dealing with. But don't stop hugging people, because then that's your personality too, and I don't want to squash people's personalities either.
Yeah, sometimes I feel that people get offended if I don't hug them.
Really? People you just met?
Well, no, not necessarily people I've
or just people
met.
that, like, you see somebody that's a good friend or whatever.
Yeah, because they know that, you know, I'm a hugger, and they're like, why didn't you give me a hug? And then I feel bad. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't think about it or anything else. You know, I just like saying hey or whatever else. But even sometimes when you walk into the mall and you see people, because I know some very good friends of mine, they're non-huggers. Ooh, they absolutely hate it. And so, but if I don't hug, sometimes that other people get upset. And so that's why I will try to stay my distance sometimes, or I'll ask, because you know, it gets confusing sometimes. So is that the right thing?
You're a hugger, but you don't like people to invade your personal space. I mean, like getting too close to you. Is that it?
Yeah. Well, no. Well, there's a difference between a hug and just standing there in my face where I can hear them breathe.
Right. You're right.
You know.
Because the hug is quick, but if somebody's standing there and they're standing there too close to you, it's like a natural reaction to just back away, and that's what you should do. Just follow your natural reaction. But I know what you mean. It's like, why do they do that? It's like they're not conscious of it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the conscious awareness about their surroundings. And so a lot of times I'll just take 1 or 2 steps back or something else, or I'll try to figure out some way in order to get my space within them. So, now, what about relatives? Whether they're mean to you, or what's a good way to handle them if they always try to put you down?
Oh, gosh. And this is and it's always the same relatives know how to push your buttons. And that's what I say.
Yes.
You need to think of a witty comeback the night before. I have a bunch of books. My most popular is Witty Comebacks for Idiotic Insults, because people just don't know what to say, and they get all defensive. And here's the thing. Think of what it is the night before that you could say, because they say the same thing every year. They have the same MO. When are you going to get a decent job? When are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? You know, when are you going to lose weight? And so think of something funny, something that will just shut them up right then and there. Oh, gosh, maybe we should go on a diet together. We could lose weight together. What do you think? You know, and
love that.
Yeah, so something like that, something funny, something that will just stop them in their tracks. And how many times has somebody said something to you, and then you're like, and they said something awful, and you don't know what to say, and then 2 hours later, when you're out the door, you thought of the perfect comeback. But think of it the night before. Yeah.
And sometimes I always hear people, if they have a good comeback, and then somebody else would be like, oh, you've been saving that one, huh? And be like, yes, I thought of that one last week.
Yes, I have. Good for you.
Oh my goodness. Well, your books, you do have what, 7? You have 7 books, right? And everybody can get them on like Amazon and
books. Yeah, because people, I get these ideas from my YouTube channel, because people send in these questions, and sometimes it takes more than just one video response. And people are just, I feel like, I don't know, are people ruder nowadays? I don't know. Again, it's not technology. I think it has to do with selfishness. I really, really do. Like, it used to be that if there was 24 hours courtesy to return an email or a text. Now people get upset if you don't text them right back. I mean, that's instant. Yeah. And that, again, is selfishness. So I've talked to people who just dropped clients or lost clients because they could not get back to them, you know, in 5 seconds. And I say, you know what? Good thing you lost them. It's not worth it. It really isn't.
Yeah, I think people depend sometimes too much on the electronic tether that we have. That's our iPhone, or it used to be beepers or pagers or something else back in the day, but now iPhones, smartphones, so quick to text, or Skype or Yahoo or whatever other type of communication out there that if you don't get back to them. And I had to get to a point to where I won't necessarily get back to somebody in time, because I've got so much stuff going on. And if I sit there at my desk or on my phone all the time answering everybody's stuff, I can't get anything else done. And so I literally had to schedule time to when I can actually answer my texts or answer my emails or something else. And then people get, like you said, people got mad at me. They were like, "Why did it take so long?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry, I have this other stuff to do. And, it's nothing personal or anything."
Yeah, you're on the radio, for goodness sake. What, it's like you're on the radio and you're not texting them or calling them back. I know.
So let's talk a little bit more about this book. Now, you have 7 out there, but we're talking about witty comebacks for idiot results?
Idiotic insults, right.
Idiotic insults. Okay. What are some other good ones I can put in my arsenal?
And I think it's just, and basically, it's knowing how to deal with the people, like we talked about earlier, knowing how to deal with the people that are insulting you. Because they always hit for the buttons that they think you're the most sensitive about. And that's what they're always going to do. So if you know they're going to ask you, when do you get a job? Or like, say you're trying to have a baby and you can't. You know what you need to do? You need to say, "I love just being with my husband. We're not worrying about that right now." And just turn it away from the sensitive spot. That, instead of getting all defensive and say, "Well, we're trying to have a kid and, oh my gosh, well, I don't know when we are and I'm just so upset." Don't do it. Because that's what they want. Just say, "Oh, we're having the time of our lives, just being together. We're enjoying just the two of us." So don't play into their hands is what I'm saying. Because that's what they want. These people are insecure. They don't like their own lives and they're jealous of you. So they want to upset you. Don't let them.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And we all know somebody like that, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they're all on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Sony Reader Store, Apple Bookstore. And you said they're all in kind of Kindle format. So they're roughly, pretty cheap, like 99 cents each. So
99 cents because they're short and the economy is tough. And I just wanted to give someone a quick read and to help them out with their problems. Yeah.
That's good.
I don't know how authors with expensive books are making it right now. things are tough, but that's the thing with the Kindle. I mean, that's why I can't say technology is bad. That we can't blame rudeness on technology because the Kindle and all that is making us read more.
Oh yeah.
So my mother-in-law is like she will never look over paper books and she thinks it's horrible. But I read more because of it. I think everyone reads more because of the electronic devices.
I have like I said, I have an iPhone, and I will constantly pull things down off the web onto my phone just so I can actually, if I'm going somewhere or if I'm sitting downstairs, if I'm, watching my kids while they're out there in the yard playing or something, I can grab information off of there or read something I need to for work or, for the next show or something else. And so that's one good thing I like about technology is, and unfortunately I'm doing the BlackBerry Prayer sometimes, but I'm trying to gain information, and so it's so readily accessible. So I think. But
you are so communicative, and you talk to so many people that you don't let it take the place of communicating. That's what's so great. And I have to say, I am addicted to my Kindle Fire. I love that thing, and I can't live without it. So, and that's so great. You spend time with your kids because that's what it's about. It's about face-to-face time with your kids because if they see you, you make the effort to talk to them and communicate with them. But if you don't, and then that's what's going to happen. They're going to end up being on their phone all the time. They're not going to be able to communicate or really talk to you or really want to communicate with you. So, and my teenager, I communicate with him a lot, but he still doesn't want to talk to me. So I'm hoping he'll outgrow that. It's hard. You enjoy those young years, that you have because it just gets worse.
Well, I'm definitely going to try to do that. So I always try to make sure that we talk every day, and no matter what. And he gives me those, Dad, whatever, those kind of noises. But I'm like, I'm not going away. I'm going to sit here and talk to you, and you're going to answer back, and we're going to have a conversation as much as we can. He's like, even if I'm asking about school, I'm like, what'd you learn today in school? What did you do? Let's go over your homework. He's like, Dad, no, I don't want to talk about it. He gives me that whole whining thing. And I'm like, no, sorry, we got to talk about this. So, I don't know. I just like being an involved parent with him, and my daughter as well. Now, your work as a life coach, can you explain a little bit about that and what exactly that means?
Well, I talk to people a lot about shyness, and that's what got me into etiquette too, was because people constantly, especially my one YouTube channel is a lot of younger people, like teenagers in the early 20s, and they're always asking me, how do I impress someone? How do I impress someone? How do I make them like me? And I keep saying this over and over. You can't make them like you. You've got to be yourself, because eventually they're going to find out who the real you is. You might as well just lay it out there now. The person that you think they want you to be, that's not going to last. So don't be that person. Be who you really, really are. And I'm telling you, it's like pulling teeth. But I'm not going to give up, because they try so hard to be popular, to be this, to be that, when just be yourself. And that is the hardest thing sometimes, but you got to do it.
Do you ever find sometimes being a life coach is it draining energy wise, because you're trying to be so motivated and positive for other people that it pulls a little bit away from you? So how do you keep a good balance? Does it happen to you? And how do you keep a balance?
Same question over and over again. How do I make this person like me? Yeah, so I just, I try to answer it in different ways and give them different examples. But yeah, you have to. And the thing about it is, they will learn. They will learn. It just takes time, and some people it takes longer than other people. And somebody told me this. It's really great when you're in a relationship. The first 6 months, you're really the agent. You're not really yourself. You're the agent.
The agent.
And I took that to heart, because I'm like, yeah, because you're so polite and you're coming across as the person that you think they want you to be, instead of being yourself. So just don't waste a lot of time. Just be yourself from the get-go.
So does that include like leaving your socks on the floor and
no. See, now you got to stop. Yeah, don't do that ever. Like even 10 years
ever.
into the relationship.
Okay.
Again, I'm trying to teach my teenager. My husband's got it. He's doing well. My teenager, that's a whole different story. But when he goes to live in the dorms, then it won't matter anymore.
Now, for some future projects and shows and stuff like that, where people can go and listen to you, you have on YouTube videos. People can go to Managed by Marie, and you have like 400 videos that you've put out there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's youtube.com/Manners by Marie, right? Because I do one almost every single day, and I just don't run out of ideas. And my husband keeps saying, "Well, when are you going to run out of ideas?" And I'm like, I don't, because there's so many perplexing social situations that people find themselves in.
Is this I have to be honest, I did not watch all 400 of them.
The fact that you watch one is so nice. Most radio hosts, they don't watch anything. They don't even know I have a YouTube channel. So you really do your research.
Well, I try to. It's an honor for you and the guests that come onto the show. So I like to know everything about you guys as much as I possibly can.
And you're a fellow YouTuber too, because I saw your YouTube video with one guest a couple weeks ago. So it's fun, isn't it? And it's a great way to communicate.
It is.
People don't read anymore. So I write too, obviously, but I get some people say don't answer me, because they send in a comment and I comment back. I'm like, don't answer me that way. Don't write it down. Just do a video. And some people they really need to see it.
Well, one of the things I like about YouTube, and what's so great about your channel that you have, is I'm always trying to grab information on quick how-tos, or how do I build this paper airplane or whatever else. And so I used the term Google. Well, a lot of times I'm a visual person, and so I like to actually see something as somebody's building it, or they're putting it together, or they're talking to me, even if it's something about photography or whatever. And that's what's so great about yours as well, is because you're not necessarily building anything, but you're building a better person. And from watching your videos, it's like having, again, there goes that eye contact, watching you. It's like you're talking directly to me. And that's what I loved about your videos. It's like somebody has an issue and you address it right there. They could see you and your expressions and everything else. And the fact that you've done so many of them out there, and you've got thousands and thousands of followers who comment on your videos and subscribe to your sites and things like that. Does that take a lot of work?
Oh yeah, it does. And that's how I build a better person. I love that. I'm going to remember it. Yeah, it really does. It really it's hard, but it's really rewarding too, and I like it a lot. It's great, because you feel that you get the interaction on YouTube that maybe you don't if you had a TV show. And the TV show you couldn't do just 2 minutes. People always say, well, you need to have a radio show, and I'm like, no, because then I have trouble with a whole hour of just talking. But if I want to just get on YouTube, I could just talk for 2 minutes and maybe not get on for another few days. There's nothing set. So I admire you, video hosts like you, because that's hard. You have a schedule, and you have a certain amount of time you have to talk, and so that's really hard. That's a whole nother medium.
You think it's difficult for you to talk for an hour?
No, not to you. No, not.
Because you're doing awesome.
Yeah, see, that's what I worry about. Because not all guests are that great. That's the problem. Not all, what if I ran into somebody who just couldn't talk for a whole hour? But I guess most guests are good, or they wouldn't be on your show. Have you ever had that? Have you ever run into a guest where you couldn't talk for the whole hour? That would be fine. It's like waking up. You know, you have those nightmares about a test that you're unprepared for. That would be my nightmare. Station radio.
Well, I think it's just understanding about the person. Sometimes there was a musician I did, very very famous musician from England, and I could barely understand his. It was over Skype that we were doing it. I could barely understand what he was saying, but his mannerisms took so long. And I'm from the South, and I like to talk slow. Right, we take all day to hold a conversation here, but his mannerisms were so slow that it was difficult for me to understand what he was saying. Everything else, besides the fact he was a brilliant musician, but that was probably one of the most difficult ones because I never knew when he was going to say something or how much he was going to actually say. But it was so interesting talking to him, and so I love dealing with people from around the world and or whoever it is. And so that's why I said if you think you're having a problem with an hour, you're doing absolutely amazing. So you should do longer videos.
Yeah, I know because it's interesting the different cultures and I love people from the South. I lived in Tupelo, Mississippi for 3.5 years.
Nice.
So it's like it is a different culture, but it's so nice because no one is in a hurry. And I love that. I love because you guys, you just take the time to smell the roses, basically. Everyone is like that in the South, and they're so friendly. So people that aren't from the South and have never lived in the South, they don't get it. I had an accent that I couldn't get rid of for a while, but other than that.
One of my voice coaches, she used to tell me all the time, enunciate, Brian, enunciate. Because if I'm having a beer or something like that with some friends, then the Southern drawl comes out, and it's like...
When you're tired?
Yes.
I know. That was I had that for a while, yep. But I love that accent.
It's just one of those things you wind up having, and you catch the draw on people, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So I don't know.
And you have an instant camaraderie. Oh, where are you from? So I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so you find time to do 400 various videos. You've written 7 books on Netiquette and etiquette, being an expert on it. Helping people with their life, coaching them through various hard times. What other final thoughts would you like for everybody to know?
Well, I think just be considerate of other people. Whether you're online, in person, just be considerate. Think before you talk. Think before you type. And think about the other person before yourself. And honestly, I think a lot of the problems would be gone if people would just do that. Because we're a bunch of selfish people, honestly. And so I'm trying to change that, and little by little. With the help from people like you, I think we can do it.
Nice. Well, very good. I like that.
Brian, thank you so much for having me on your show. This has been so much fun. I can't believe we've talked for an hour because this has been so fun. It's gone so really fast.
Time does fly. It does. And you're an absolute joy and a pleasure, and you're just overabundant life full of energy. And thank you so much for coming on to the show, for talking with us and going through all my questions, because there were so many things that you talk about. I could have pulled 800 questions off of all your videos and everything else. You're an absolute, just a pleasure to talk to. And
well, thank you. Well, I'll see you on YouTube, and let's do this again.
Okay, I would love to. I want to get a couple more of your books and then go through them, and then we'll come back on here and do this again.
Oh, that sounds great. Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
I know.
Here are a couple of Marie's great advice giving tip videos off of her YouTube channel, Manners by Marie.
Is it okay to be barefoot when you invite people to your home? I say absolutely. Because then you're giving off the vibe that you could be who you are when you come to my home. This is casual. You know how you go to some people's houses and it's all formal and you feel like, oh, you can't sit down, and you feel like, oh, it's just so stuffy. It's just a stuffy vibe. But when you go to this person's house and she shows up the door and she's barefoot, you're like, okay, I can be myself here. And sure, you don't want to do it if it's a big party like a graduation party, something more formal. But if you're having just a group of friends over, it's the summer, or even the fall and it's a nice warm day, why not? And even in the middle of the winter, if you have your shoes off, then people will come in with their shoes off, which in my opinion will keep your house a lot cleaner. I always go around my house barefoot. I wish my husband would, because he comes in with his shoes on. But anyway, so when I'm barefoot and people see me that come to the door, like someone, the dishwasher repairman came, he put on his footies. So it's a good precedent to set. When you are barefoot, someone will take off their shoes, and I think your house will stay cleaner, and you're giving off just an aura of it being casual, be yourself. This is a fun place. You don't have to put on airs, and it's not formal. A young woman wants to know if it's okay not to say hi back when a neighbor says hi to her. As a young woman, I understand you don't want to say hello to perfect strangers, but these are your neighbors. These are not strangers. I would say if you're walking on a dark street corner and a stranger says hi to you, no, don't say hi back. But if it's your neighbor, if it's somebody that even you only know in passing, you see them driving out of their driveway, you see them driving down the street, walking around the neighborhood, that's enough. You need to say hello. That's the problem with our society. I think we've become really disconnected. So you say that you and your parents never say hello. I think you need to start. I really do. Because what if you needed something from your neighbor? I mean, and not only that, it's just common courtesy. It just, your relationships with people are just, you know, what gets us through the day. I really believe that the next time your neighbor or any acquaintance says hello, make a point to say hi. Not just to say hi, but to say, hi, how are you doing? If you have time, start a conversation, but definitely smile, wave, say, hi, how are you doing? Make a comment. And that's all you have to do. And it will brighten their day and yours too.
Please welcome our musical guest, Joe Galaxy, with the song Crazy Sexy.
She's crazy, crazy sexy. You're a sexy chick. I wanna love you. You're amazing, baby. I just wanna love you. She's so crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy. Crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy. You're amazing, baby. She's ready and willing to. I was in the cut, palming her butt. Patrol, no rock, 6 shots ain't enough. Damn, her swag is mean. I wonder how she fit that ass and jeans. I mean, it busted, it seems. Could've sworn I seen it in a magazine. That Rose's got her geeked up. Seen the Maserati from the lobby and she freezed up. I seen her knees buck, now she's trembling every time we touch. Racks on racks, girl, I wipe my stacks. Your face is flawless. Stat, believe me, tonight will be action packed. You're a sexy chick. I wanna love you. You're amazing, baby. I just wanna love you. She's so crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy. Crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy. You're amazing, baby. I just wanna love you. Keep them bottles coming, keep them shots coming. We just getting started in this mother. Any way you want it, I'ma give it to you, baby. All I wanna do is you. No intermission, you can't compare me to these other dudes. Let your head down, keep your shoes off, get comfortable. I already bagged you. There's no need for cuffing you or loving you. All I wanna do is get them clothes off. Your body is crazy, baby, and that so soft. We about to get up, then later we gon' we about to get up, then later we gon' you know it's on tonight, you know it's on tonight, you know it's on tonight. We about to get
You're
up.
a sexy chick. I wanna love you. You're amazing.
amazing, baby. I just wanna love you. She's so crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy. Crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy. You're amazing, baby. I just wanna love you. Yeah. I wanna please you. I wanna touch you. And it ain't no mystery that I wanna you. Going up a drone lap dance in the VIP. I'm throwing stacks of money, baby. You gon' spend the night with me. Bring all your friends and they looking very tempting. Ride it, baby, deeper, deeper. You take every inch and I got them thighs trembling. Rub this money on your skin. We throwing back shots. I don't believe in sipping. Sexy chick, I wanna love you. You're amazing, baby. I just wanna love you. She's so crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy. Crazy, sexy, crazy, sexy, crazy. You're amazing, baby. I just wanna love you. Yeah. We about to gift up, then later we gon' we about to gift up, then later we gon' you know it's on tonight. You know it's on tonight. You know it's on tonight. We about to gift up.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
At Taylor Gifts, we do customized monogramming and embroidery. We can monogram anything from a simple one name on a bib for a baby to a customized logo on a company shirt. We can make gifts for your wedding entourage and gifts for your friends. Label your children's items for school and put names on jerseys for sports. If you have items of your own you want them monogrammed and embroidered, we can do that. Tailor Gifts are sewn with high-quality thread on a professional embroidery machine. So go to the website www.tailorgifts.net, call 251-391-4354, email sales@tailorgifts.net, visit us at ETSY, and Facebook us. We are ready for your orders.
Welcome to WROM, Realms of Music Radio and Social Network. We support independent artists and talk shows, hosting a large discussion forum and an artist gallery. We also have a large social network combining the best of Facebook and MySpace into one. So make sure you submit your music to us and create a profile to promote yourself today. That's realmsofmusic.com, the best of music radio.
The Ghost Tales Television Network, GTN. GTN is designed to give the paranormal TV and filmmaking community the opportunity to showcase their talents and creations. If you believe you have what it takes to create your very own TV show and or short film and you would like the opportunity to showcase your creations, you may contact us at ghosttellstv@gmail.com or call 901-377-7166 for more details. Make sure you visit ghosttellstv.com. GTN, America's Paranormal Superstation.
Thank you for listening to the show. I am your host, Bryan Lee Whatley. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next time when another story begins. Until then, love and light.